Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
WMAL.
6:07 here on O'Connor and Company this Friday, the last Friday and last weekend before all your Christmas stuff is due. Coming up at 7:05, Paul Larkin, Heritage on Trump reclassifying pot. 7:35, Dan Yampieri running for Frederick County Council. 8:05, Roma Daravi to talk about the name change at the new Trump Kennedy Center. And at 8:35, Seamus Bruner talk about Congress debating a ban on stock trading. I shouldn't say they're backing it because Lord knows how that vote will go. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. So excited.
Yesterday, Fairfax County made national headlines for all the wrong reasons again. And joining us to discuss it is Sean Kennedy, or should I say, is it Sean Trump Kennedy? Has he changed your name too, Sean?
Well, actually, I wanted to thank the president from the outset for renaming the Kennedy Center after myself this time. So it's the Donald J. Trump and Sean Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. And I appreciate getting rid of my name doppelganger, finally removing him from the edifice of that building. It's
now it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Makes a lot of sense.
And the Democrats will certainly get behind it now. Tell us about Marvin Fernando Morales Ortiz in the country illegally, in custody, but then released. Tell us all about it.
Well, this individual, it appears, came over illegally to the United States in 2016, was ordered deported about then, and he got a stay of removal at some point after the Trump people tried to put him out. A judge stopped that. So he remained here as a late teenager, Salvadorian, claiming an asylum claim, which is granted. Not that he was given asylum, that his initial claim started the slow roll of the proceedings. He continues to live here in Northern Virginia, commits a series of violent acts. We later find out that he's believed to be tagged as a member of MS-13. In 2019, he confesses to being part of a murder gang as part of MS-13 that hacked a man to death who threw up a rival gang sign with a machete. By the way, MS-13, I grew up in Los Angeles. You know, we have lots of gang shootings and things like that when I was a kid and things like that. People use guns. These people are so brutal, they hack this man to death in a park with a machete. I mean, they do other horrible things like cut people's hearts out. But, I mean, there is a scale of murder, and the horrendousness of what these people do is beyond the pale. But so they hacked this man to death. He confessed to the crime. And what was important about confessing to the crime, because I'll bring this up in a second, was he gave corroborating details that the detectives knew but were in no way otherwise public, and ascribed that there were multiple assailants in this case. He's charged with this murder. In 2021, at a preliminary hearing, Toscano's office, the Fairfax Soros prosecutors, own prosecutors, attest that he's MS-13, attest that he committed the crime. 6 months later, they dropped the charges. The excuse that Toscano's office gives is that the feds convicted someone else. The problem with this, one, is, as I mentioned, that this individual had said there were multiple assailants and that other evidence pointed to that as well. Secondly, the federal conviction for the MS-13 gang leader didn't come until the following year. So they dropped the charges because the feds arrested somebody else, even though it just doesn't all make sense. So Toscano's strike one is this guy committed a murder, likely was at least accused of one in 2021, charged and dropped. He commits an assault on police officers and another assault on someone else. In the subsequent years, commits a petty theft. All of those, except for the petty theft, are dropped. And the only reason the petty theft wasn't dropped effectively, he was given a fine, which he never paid. So then, in September, he attacked someone with a gun. And in Virginia, we don't use the term attempted murder. It's malicious wounding. And he committed a malicious wounding by gun and got a gun charge and a malicious wounding charge in September. He was held until the 17th of December. And on the 17th of December, he was released from Fairfax County Jail because, yet again, Steve Toscano dropped the charges, in this case claiming that the witness, the victim, refused to testify and was out of the country. I'm told reliably by people who know about this case very in detail that he actually fled the country out of fear
Oh, wow.
because this guy may be a member of MS-13 and he's already killed people. So maybe he would be someone who would kill me. So within a few hours of finding out that he had been released, Fairfax County Police put out a emergency custody order. They got a doctor to say that he was mentally unstable and therefore had to go get him. You know, whether or not that's real or not, I mean, he's mentally unstable because he's a cold-blooded killer, but they went and looked for him, but they couldn't find him. And after that expired, so their 8-hour manhunt search ends technically, he kills someone else, and that's in his home on Fanshell Court. So the series of failures are illegally present, not deported, commits a murder, charges dropped, commits a series of other crimes, even though we know he's a member of MS-13, charges dropped, commits a new crime, and charges dropped from September. The day later, they try to get him. The cops can't find him, and he commits a new murder, and now he is sitting behind bars for a second-degree murder. By the way, the first case was a first-degree murder because it means it was premeditated. And this guy has at least one body. There's also, I'm hearing from other people that there are other murders he was involved in the subsequent years. In 2022, there may have been another murder. Yeah.
Sean, that wouldn't surprise us that a murderer commits multiple murders. What is Descano saying? What is the district attorney, Steve Descano, who's failed multiple times, as you've just laid out? What is he saying about this now, this last murder?
His excuse sounds always the same, which is, somebody didn't cooperate, this didn't work, or there was some other problem where it's somebody else's fault. It's always finger pointing. It's always a blame game. And the way I continue to think about this is he has a policy that he has on his website, or he did a few months ago, he may have taken it down because he's getting heat for it sometimes, is that specifies that people who have immigration status that is unclear or they're illegal get preferential treatment. He says that we will consider immigration consequences, and he directs his line prosecutors to downcharge, that is, reduce charges or drop altogether charges that would elicit a response from ICE. ICE put a detainer on him on the latest charges, the gun and attempted murder charges, and the Fairfax County Sheriff didn't honor that. Clearly, no one notified ICE. And I know for a fact that occasionally word gets out between the Fairfax County Sheriff and ICE that somebody is going to be released at a certain time. They don't honor detainers, but somehow ICE finds out just magically.
Yeah,
and so
because there's some
in this case.
There's usually some righteous cops in the department who just sort of gives them a heads up. But Sean,
it didn't happen in this case. Yeah, go ahead.
It didn't happen in this case. All right, hold there. There's more on this story, but when we follow up, I just want to make sure that everybody heard something. He admitted he was an MS-13 gang member when he was in custody, and they did nothing. Right? Is that the case?
Yes. He said that the murder in 2019 was prompted by MS-13 ties. That there was an MS-13 clique killing a rival gang member. Yes. So he said he was a member of MS-13.
All right. Coming up, more on this story that is making national headlines, and also the participation in from the sheriff's office in Fairfax County, Stacey KK, because I believe she is about to be tapped by Abigail Spanberger to be part of the new governor's administration. So we'll get into that in a moment. 6:15 WMAL.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
We continue with Sean Kennedy, Virginians for Safe Communities, and this story, the one of a murderer that was in custody, had admitted that the murder that he had previously committed was linked to MS-13, Marvin Fernando Morales Ortez, in the country illegally. Then, after being released on the 17th, immediately committed another murder. The county Commonwealth attorney, Steve Descano, basically let this happen, is what Sean Kennedy is telling us, decided not to prosecute as a repeat offender, not to prosecute over all of these crimes, and then, to add insult to injury, not honor an ICE detainer and just let him walk free rather than be put into federal hands. How does the sheriff factor into this, Stacey Kincaid? Because it's her job to cooperate with federal authorities, isn't it?
Yeah, so the immigration consequences point of this actually comes to the head at the jail. So it's called the Adult Detention Center. The county jail here in Fairfax is actually at the courthouse. They're abutting buildings. They actually have a passageway between them. So once he left that courthouse, he would have gone back into the jail and been processed out. At that point, the jail has the ability to call ICE and say, or check their system and see if there's an ICE detainer, and then hold them and say, ICE, we'll wait till you come pick him up. That's what a normal detainer process works in a cooperating jurisdiction. In a non-cooperating jurisdiction, like what the sheriff said and what all these other county officials say is, oh, you don't have a judicial warrant. That's, of course, clownish because ICE doesn't issue judicial warrants. Only courts do, and they screwed up in the courts, so you were only left with ICE. So it's sort of a gaslighting, wiggle room around, oh, we honor judicial warrants. ICE doesn't get judicial warrants, and he's illegally present. They have that jurisdiction. It's a civil warrant. It's just an attempt to gaslight everybody and claim that they somehow do follow the law, but they follow the laws that they like. It's like we follow certain laws. And so Kincaid's job would be, if she were in a cooperating jurisdiction, would be to turn that over. She has a policy, which honestly is somewhat a product of extortion by the county board, because the county has a trust policy, and they've explicitly threatened her and said, if you cooperate with ICE and federal immigration in any way, we will cut your budget. Because even though she's a constitutional officer independently elected, her funding mostly comes from the county board. So if they have threatened her over and over again, so her cooperation has to be subtle, if any. And so she doesn't cooperate effectively, and in this case didn't. Their one bit of power at the ADC is to determine the release time, whether or not it's in the afternoon or overnight or early in the morning. And it clearly was not only communicated to ICE, but it was not communicated to the Fairfax County Police Department, either by Descano's office that these charges were going to be dropped ahead of time, or by the sheriff's department that he was pending release to the police department. And why that matters is because they went and got this emergency custody order too late. If they had that emergency custody order at the point of release, they would have just grabbed him at the door. But they couldn't get him at the door because there was a miscommunication clearly, and that's why this person's dead. So the failure starts with Descano and our completely destroyed immigration system, and extends all the way through both the county policies on sanctuary cities to some screw up, at least, between communicating between Descano's office and the police and the sheriff's office. And then it comes all the way down to where we stand now, which is another dead man that shouldn't have been dead. If this guy shouldn't have been here, he should have been deported. He should have gone to jail for murder, should have gone to jail for assaulting police officers. He should have gone to jail for malicious wounding. And now someone else is dead.
Well, Sean, I mean, what's interesting is that the story's on the national radar. We saw DHS retweet Nick Minnock's story reporting on this last night, just highlighting how local authorities not working with the law enforcement, federal law enforcement officials to remove illegal immigrants can lead to such dangerous outcomes. What's the process? Is there a process change that could possibly take place? Maybe the federal government needs to get involved in some way to ensure that this does not happen again, because obviously you've got some recalcitrant, attorneys, Steve Descano, district attorneys who are not willing to get on board, and maybe even some in the police forces that are, trying to needle the thread of the politics that you just laid out. What can the policy change be here that would kind of keep this from happening again?
The federal government needs to be strategic. Former Attorney General Jeff Sessions started a fight, and the Trump administration after they kicked him to the curb, as disgraceful as I think that action was, they let it go. And that was his war on sanctuary cities using federal grants. There's something called the JAG grant and the Byrne grants, and those come from the Justice Department. There are other grants that come from Homeland Security and other agencies that could all be cut off for noncompliance with federal law. And a bunch of Obama-appointed judges blocked Sessions. Now we have a much more Trump-friendly judiciary, and that the Supreme Court particularly is much more friendly. And these are directly relevant, and that's the Supreme Court standard in a case out of South Dakota 10 years ago that basically said that any kind of tit for tat has to be a relevant grant. You can't cut off an unrelated grant as retaliation. But we need to relitigate that. And basically these law enforcement agencies and local governments cannot get federal funding if they're not going to cooperate with local law enforcement. It's not going to work with federal law enforcement. Yeah. I mean, If they did this to the FBI, people would be up in arms. But because we want to cry boo-hoo over illegals, it's okay.
Yeah, and that's what the showdown's going to be with the Trump administration, especially with Abigail Spanberger coming into office as governor next month. Fast, we just have a minute left here, Sean Kennedy, but it's rumored that Stacey Kennedy, the sheriff of Fairfax County, who ignored this detainer and allowed this to happen, and now there's another murder on her watch and Steve Descano's watch. She's on a short list for a state of Virginia state police position appointed by Abigail Spanberger. Knowing Abigail Spanberger, is she going to own all of this? Is she going to take this in, or is she going to be the cold political calculator that we assume she is and try to distance herself and pretend like she's moderate?
I know you're not going to like to hear this, but Abigail Spanberger could do a lot worse than Sheriff Kincaid. Sheriff Kincaid has not been the hero on this she needs to be, but there are a lot worse people that would do that. But on the other side, I don't want to see who Fairfax County is going to elect in lieu of Stacey Kincaid. You think this is bad? Just wait till they get the craziest, wokest, most incompetent Barney Fife cop in there running the jails and running the sheriff's department of Fairfax County. This could get a lot worse.
So it could get worse. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that, too. But
Stacey Kincaid would not be the worst thing for the state of Virginia compared to what other options she has on the table.
That says it all. All right, Sean, always great to hear from you.
Thank you,
Merry
Sean.
Christmas. Merry Christmas to the whole
Thank
Kennedy
you. Merry
family.
Christmas. Merry Christmas.
624.